So this is pretty much the views template that I previously showed you. This has got the first view that opens is the instructions view, which is just red. I've simplified it as much as I can. It just shows red. When you press a key, we go to the game, and the game is just counting until you press a key, and then at that point it goes to the game overview, which is just blue for the moment. So in theory, we should just be able to see that really quickly. So this is the instructions. Here's the game. Press a key, game over. And I want to do a high score. That's the idea of this. I want to be able to beat my high score. So the first thing is that when we finish the game, I want the game overview to know what score I got. So I want to pass this value to it. So right here is the easiest way to do it. I've got this game overview. I've made a new view here from this game overview class. So this is what I've made my view from. And I can specify any properties here. It's just another object in the game. So I can say game overview dot score equals, and I'm going to specify the score available within the game view. This is the self.score that's only available when I'm inside the game view. And so that's this score right here. And then I'm specifying in the game overview, we're going to have a self.score. So going into game overview, I think what I'm going to do is just grab that from here. I'm going to display the score in the game over. So Control C, game overview in the arcade.start render is just going to do exactly the same as before. So we'll see it kind of stop, but it'll be on a blue background instead. So let's hit that. Just check. So that's an important and useful thing anyway, that we now know how to pass values between views. So there we go. There's my score, and then blue background. So this is the score in the game overview. It's not the score that we originally had in the game. So I need to be able to compare that to a high score. So I need the high score to be persistent. I need it to be available all the time. So I'm actually going to put it right at the beginning here. Not necessarily the best way to do it, but it'll do for now. And it's not self dot. I got carried away there. It's just high score. There's no self at this level. We're not inside a class. So high score equals 0. That's going to be kind of globally available. So right here in the on draw, I can say, let's just think about this. I'm just going to do this line again, but I'm going to do it as if self dot score is not section manager score is greater than high score. There's no self dot because remember that's just the thing that's globally available. I'm going to do a print statement which will be draw text, you beat the high score. You beat the high score, exclamation mark. Don't need to do that. And just so it's not written right over the top of the other thing, I will make this a little bit further down the screen. Am I happy with that? Let's just see what happens, shall we? So, it's not. I'm not happy with that actually, of course, because you're automatically going to beat the high score, aren't you? So if I go there, I beat the high score because the high score was originally 0. So let's make the high score 100, and just for testing purposes. So if I hit play now, and if I get less than 100 for my score, I don't get a high score. And if I run it again, but this time get more than 100, I beat the high score. Cool. So we're beginning to see how this high score thing could work. Now, we do have a problem, though. Obviously, we need to reset the high score when we're complete. So if we beat the high score, there's no point in leaving it 100 all the time. So I can do this. Perhaps we're going to have problems generally working with this, but bear with us. So I can say here, if self dot score is greater than high score, and I can say high score equals self.score. So I'm resetting the value of high score to be whatever the score was. Now, you might immediately be spotting there's a problem with what's going to happen down here with comparing these two values when I've just already reset the high score up here. But we're not even going to get here because this is going to crash. And so that's the first thing we need to understand. So I run this, it's my game, we have a crash. And it says high score referenced before assignment down here, which is a little bit confusing because it was working before. Well, high score seems to be available everywhere. The key issue is this, it does not know when we set a value, it does not know whether this is a local or a global variable. And Python, by choice, will say, no, this is the local variable. So we have to specify that this high score here is actually this high score here. And the way we do that is right here, we say global high score. And you need to do this any function where you are updating the value of the high score. If you don't have if you're not setting the value of it, if you're just reading the value of it, like we were doing down here previously, it does not need you to do this. But it is good practice anyway, probably just to say this is a global, it's this one up here whenever we're working with it. Cool. So we've now got that set, but of course, this won't work. It won't say I beat the high score because when I get to here, I should have done it over 100, shouldn't I? Let's run it again. When I get to that final screen, this is the order that things have happened. So I get over 100 here, and what has happened is right here, it reset the high score to be equal to the high score. And then when we get to here to check if the score is greater than the high score, it doesn't say you beat the high score here. We can cheat. If we say greater than or equal to the high score, if we got over 100, it would have been reset to that. It would actually be equal to it. So if I run the game, get over 100, you beat the high score because the high score is now 138 and the score is 138, so it is greater than or equals to. But that's pretty clumsy. I don't like that. So let's take that back out. I'm going to do a slightly cunning thing here, which is we're going to draw the score here, but this here, I'm going to not put here. I'm going to Control X, come back to that in a second. I'm going to say output text equals that. You beat the high score. And if that's not it, I'm going to say, no, of course it shouldn't be just output text here. It needs to be self.output text, so I need to use it somewhere else. I'm going to say else you didn't beat the high score. Cool. And right here, I can narrow down here, put self.output text. And it will take whatever we'd specified it to be here, and it will put it down here. I think that should work. Let's try that. And of course, there's the whole high score table thing yet to implement. We'll come to that in a second. So if I go spacebar, get a score, and did it crash? Doesn't seem to have worked. Why is that? It's because it's still here, isn't it? It's still this self.high score equals. So I shouldn't be doing this at all. I shouldn't be doing if. I should just be having that right at that level there. Is always going to draw that text. See, I'm sure you spotted that just way before I did. Anyway. So score, get over 100, you beat the high score. Okay, and if I run it again and I don't beat the high score, it should say that. Go back to where we were. You didn't beat the high score.